welcome to NG Firewalls. My name is Bakeri, and in this video I will show you how to configure subnet to subnet, source NAT and destination NAT on firewall Fortinet. The question is when we need this type of configuration. Well, we need this type of configuration whenever we have the duplicated IP. For example, on Milan side, we have 10.10.1.0/24, and on Paris side, we have the same subnet. In order to make the communication between the network 172.16.1.0/24 to communicate with the Paris side 10.1.1.0/24, we have to do NAT on some of the firewall. We can do NAT on the Milan side as well on the Paris side. Okay, we have to use some subnet that doesn't exist on the Paris side. For the purpose of this lab, we are doing all the configuration on Milan side, and we are going to use 192.168.1.1 to 254. We have the like 172.16.1.10 wants to communicate to destination IP of 192.168.120. Okay, the source will be the Paris subnet, and the destination is the NAT. When the traffic is coming here on this firewall, we do the subnet to subnet NAT, the 192.168.1.20 will be translated to the real IP 10.10.1.20. This will happen also on the traffic that originated from Milan to the Paris side. For example, when 10.10.1.20 wants to communicate 172.16.1.20, the firewall on Milan, it will translate to the Paris with 192.168.1.20. Well, let's start with configuration. For this demonstration, I have two firewalls, Milan and Paris. These two firewalls can communicate with each other through internet. What we are going to do, we implement VPN IPsec, and then after the VPN is up and running, we will do the NAT on Milan firewall. Okay, let's start. I have a computer on Milan side, which is 10.10.1.100, and its default gateway is 254, and I have another computer on Paris side, which is 172.16.1.100 with default gateway of 254. Firstly, we make the VPN, and then we will implement source NAT and destination NAT on firewall. Okay, this is Milan PC. I connect the firewall to 10.10.1.254. Okay, let's start with configuration of VPN IPsec. Okay, we go to VPN IPsec, create new tunnel IPsec. We name it to VPN to Paris. Okay, custom, next. The IP address of Paris is 202.2.1. I will use port 1, which is the 1. And the rest will leave as default. Pressured key is Fortinet, and then we use main mode. By the way, this firewall does have only the trade license. That's why I can see only DES encryption. Okay, I use DES with SHA-1. In your case, if you have a firewall with license, you can choose whatever you like. Development group 14. Okay, the rest we will leave as default. Okay. Our local subnet on Milan, we use our local subnet is 192.168.1.1. That's the subnet which we are using for NAT. 192.168.1.0/24, and our remote, the IP, the network of Paris is 172.16.1, if I can describe it correctly, 0/24. Advanced. I remove, and I use the switch SHA-1. I leave everything as default, and I choose Diffie-Hellman group 14. Yes, everything's as default. Okay, seems fine. Don't save SHA-26. Okay, then that will be what is. Okay, our remote is 200.2.2.1 with port 1 as the source port. We use main mode with pressured key, with encryption of DES, with authentication is SHA. Okay, DVL1 group 14, and then as the local network we have 91.92.168.1.0/24 with remote address is 172.16.1.0/. Okay, seems fine. Good. We do the same, quite same configuration on Paris. Okay, our port 2 is 2.254, the IP that we use to connect to the firewall. VPN IPsec, create new. We go to VPN to Milan. We use custom. Next. Here we have to set the public IP address of the Milan firewall. Interface is port 1, which is our 1. We leave everything as default, and we use the pressured key of Fortinet. Okay, this is DES with SHA-256 with development group 14. And here we have the local network is 172.16.1.0/24 with remote subnet is 192.168.1.0/24. We use DES with SHA-1. What is SHA-1? I already forget. Was it SHA-1? Was it the SHA-1? Yeah, SHA-1. Okay. We use DES with SHA-1, development group 5, and then, okay. Don't save. SHA-256. Very good. We need a static root. Static root is 192.168.1.0/24, which sent to VPN to Milan. Okay. In order to reach 192.168.1.0/24, you have to use VPN to Milan. We need policy. We go to policy and object, create new. It is to Milan from port 2, which is our LAN, to Milan. The source is our LAN 172.16.1.0/24, and our destination is Milan. I said remote Milan, which is 192.168.1.0/24. Okay, good. And service all. Remember, on Paris we don't do any NAT all session. Okay, this policy allows the Paris LAN to communicate with Milan. We need another policy which allows Milan to communicate with Paris. We can do it by clone reverse. It reverses everything. We name it from Milan, and then everything's as default. I don't like this command. Okay. That's what we need on Paris. We need policy, we need the static route, and the VPN. Some configuration missing on Milan because we just configured VPN. We need static route here as well. We use remote IP 172.16.1/24, which is reachable through Paris. Okay, we need policy, but here we have to enable destination net, which translates 192.168.1.1 through 254 to 10.10.10.1 through 254. We have to do a destination net, and we have to do the source net as well, which translates 10.10.1.1 to 254 to 192.168.1.1 to 254. Then we need to have NAT. Okay, for destination NAT, we go to policy, virtual IP, create new virtual IP, call it DNAT to LAN. I will 192.168.1.1 to 192.168.1.254. I will translate 192.168.1.1 to 254 to 10.10.1.1. Okay, it will make automatically to 254. Okay, this is for destination net. Okay, and we have to have a source net, which Milan to present himself with 192.168. We need source net as well. Source net. For source net, SNAT to Paris. We use fixed port range. Our external IP is 192.168.1.1 to 192.168.1.254. to our internal 10.10.10.10.1.1 to 10.10.1.254. It means it will translate our internal range to external range. Okay, with fixed port range, it will translate like 10.10.1.1 to 192.168.1.1, 10.10.1.2 to 192.168.1.2, and so on. Good. We have source NAT and we have destination NAT. Now we have to reference them on the policy. For making policy, we go to the policy and object, policy, create new. To Paris. It is coming from LAN port 1 to Paris. Our source is LAN. Our destination is, let's make address, remote Paris 172.16.1.1.0/24. Okay. Yes. 1x. Okay. Service all. Okay. We have to do source net. We are going to call our source net to Paris. It means when the traffic is coming from port 1 with the source of 10.10.1 to destination of our remote site Paris, it will implement, it will translate the LAN with 192.168.0/24. Get all session. Okay. Okay, this is to Paris. We have to have another policy which is from Paris. Okay, if the traffic is coming from Paris to port 2 with the source of Paris with destination, now we have to call our NAT, destination NAT. Service all, don't do NAT, and enable. Okay, good. Well, what we did, we made VPN IPsec, we made a static route, and then we made two policy. And in our policy, we have a destination NAT and we have a source NAT. Okay, let's test it. If config, if, okay, I have 10.10.1.100 and the Paris site have if config. Okay, the Paris has 172.16.1.100. Let's start ping 192.168.1.100. Let's see if it works. On policy, I made a mistake. Instead of port 2, I used port 1. Okay, let's test it. Yeah, it works. Let's see what's happened on the firewall. We go to log forward traffic. Okay, we have a request of 10.10.1.100 to 172.16.1.100. Okay, and firewall NATed with firewall translate 10.10.100 to 192.168.100, and it send it to VPN Paris. Let's test it from Paris to Milan, ping 192.168.1.100, which is 10.10.1.100. Yes, it works. Let's see what's happened here. Okay, we have a request from 172.16.1.100 to 192.168.100. Okay. On Paris, on Milan, let's see what's happened on Milan. On Milan, we have a traffic. We have a request from 172.16.1.100 to 192.168.1.100. Firewall translate 192 to 10.10. Yeah, it works perfectly fine. Thanks for joining me, and see you soon.